Hello. In today's video, we're going to look at how we can help children to develop the skills, the knowledge, the attitudes, values and beliefs they will need in order to build safe, reliable, supportive relationships throughout their lifetimes. I'm Shirley Green and this is It's a Relationship Thing, where we talk about all things to do with relationships, the good, the bad, and sometimes the downright dangerous. I'm going to begin by looking at the benefits of having good relationships for all adults, and then look specifically at children and how we can help children to develop the attitudes, values, beliefs, skills and knowledge they need in order to be able to form relationships that are both safe and healthy throughout their lives. For most of us as human beings, having somebody in our lives that we know we can trust, somebody who's going to be there for us no matter what, somebody with whom we can totally be ourselves, warts and all, who accept us for who we are and know us for who we are and still want to spend time with us. That all adds to a sense of well-being. It all helps us to feel that we're okay and that the world is not a dangerous place and we do belong in it, and it gives us a connection. These things are really important in terms of our health and our well-being, as well as our experience of life. Research shows us that people who have strong, stable, supportive relationships throughout their lives tend to live longer, they tend to be healthier, happier, with reduced amounts of anger, which they can deal with in a healthy way. But also it helps to build resilience so that we are more able to cope with life's adversity. And when things get too overwhelming for us, we know we've got someone safe who will be by our side no matter what. So how do we build this foundation in our children? There's three things I'd like you to think about. The first one is about being genuinely interested in your child and curious about what they're trying to communicate to us. Some parents have been fortunate enough to have grown up in a family where the parents are interested and curious, and you will already have the skills to be able to share with your child. However, not all of us are that fortunate. And so this video is very much about highlighting some ideas, some practical tips that you can use to help your child to have that very best start. The second thing I'd like you to think about is about how available we are and how much we have time and the ability to respond to the child. Availability is increasingly difficult for parents these days due to work pressures, family pressures. There's so much in the world that pulls us away from the family. So I'm not expecting you all to be instantly responding to your child's needs. It's about proportion, it's about being there as much as you can. The last thing I'm going to talk about is about mutual exchange, a reciprocal relationship where it's based on give and take, where the child feels empowered but also guided by you as their parent. Let's start by looking at curiosity and interest. As adults, we feel safer when we have a group of friends who are genuinely interested in us and curious about how we're feeling, what we're thinking, what our experience of the day has been, how our lives are going, our hopes, our dreams. All those things are part of a fundamentally good relationship, and they're reciprocated, so we feel the same about those. That way we build really strong connections. There's a commitment to the relationship where you know you're safe. You know that you can trust these people, they understand you, they accept you, and hopefully you all enjoy each other's company. Research shows that infants, newborn babies, have an innate drive to seek out human faces above everything else in their environment. This enables them to form the connections really quickly in order to express their needs and get their needs met. Basic survival needs: food, shelter, warmth. Being a parent of a newborn can be really exhausting and frustrating. And so the sooner you can understand what they are trying to express to you, the sooner you'll be able to meet their needs, and hopefully it will reduce the amount of anxiety and tension within the relationship. As children develop, their behaviour becomes a little bit more obvious and easier to understand. So, for example, a toddler having a tantrum, you can see just from their behaviour that they are angry and upset. And rather than focusing on the thing that you want to stop, or the thing you've taken away from them, or the thing that you're refusing them, look at how they're emotionally feeling. What is going on for them in their little world? And how can you help to soothe them? How can you help them to understand the situation they're in? Because that way you are helping them to understand their own emotional state, to be able to regulate themselves better going forward, and to know that they can express themselves and still be loved and still get that attention and care that they need. If you have a really clingy child, then think about it from their perspective. What is it that's making them so anxious and clingy? And how can you help them to deal with that, so that that is not an anxiety they carry with them into the future? We all have baggage that we carry with us from our childhood. And if you can put things in place and be really curious and interested in your child from the beginning, hopefully that will reduce the amount of anxiety they feel moving forward in their lives. The second thing I wanted to talk about is about being available and responding to your child's needs. As I said before, parents these days have very, very busy lives. It's not just the call of work and family life, but it's also about the intrusion of social media into our lives, that constant information sharing. What we need to do is to be able to enjoy everything the world has to offer while still being as available as possible for our child. So I would ask you please to put your phones away, do the social media thing once the child is settled in bed. Because once we understand what the child's communication is and what they're trying to tell us, if we can respond to that more often than not, then they will learn that firstly, you understand their communication, you know what they're trying to tell you, that you care, and that you are willing and able to do something about it. That will give them a real sense of safety and security. It will help them to develop an identity which is valuable and worthwhile and important to somebody. All those things which we really wish for our children going forward. And it isn't about giving up everything, it's about making the best of the time you have got with your child. It's about being focused and dedicated in that very small space, if that's all you've got. Let's talk about reciprocity or mutual exchange. As adults, our relationships with people who we are able to give to and receive from tend to be the strongest ones. Whether we are sharing a problem or listening back to their problems, whether we are gift giving and gift receiving, or whether it's just a general conversation exchange where each person has an equal voice. And so we can learn from each other, we can grow together. Helps to really establish those commitments and those boundaries within the relationship. We understand each other really well, therefore we understand what the rules are within that relationship, and things tend to go along more smoothly. When we have that kind of relationship, we can really enjoy each other's company, and that enjoyment is a buffer against stress, anxiety, depression, a lot of mental health problems. So they're really important in our well-being. For an infant or a young child, it's equally important to start putting those building blocks in place. And we can originally do that with infants, mimicking their facial expressions. They will also mimic ours. I'm sure you'll have that experience of putting your tongue out at your baby and watching as the baby puts their tongue out back at you. That's the earliest form of reciprocity. Some of the games they play, which are repetitive, is also about reciprocity. You build up the bricks, they knock them down. You build them up again, they knock them down. They're beginning to learn the cause and effect. They're also strengthening their commitment and their connection to your relationship. There's a wonderful video which I've put in the description box down below of 8-year-old Molly, who is talking about the importance of playing peekaboo. I hope you get a chance to watch it. It's fabulous. So reciprocity and mutual exchange is something that if we can teach our children early on, will put them in good stead throughout their lives. By being interested, curious, available, responsive, and engaging in mutual exchange, we give our children the very best start to make sure the relationships they have are healthy going forward. Having worked for many years with families who struggle, as well as with domestic abuse, domestic violence, teen relationships, I understand how easy it is for things to go wrong. And that's why I've chosen to start with something that is very positive. And I think the most important thing I'd like you to take away from today is about how you view your child. We will look at parenting, we will look at attachment in later videos, but for me, one of the key issues is, do you see your child as something that needs to be contained and controlled? Do you have an ideal vision of who your child should be as an adult? Or are you able to see your child as a unique individual who is worth finding out about, who is worth investigating to see just who they are? And you can still put the boundaries in place, you can still help to guide them through life, but you'll guide them as them, rather than as a vision of the perfect child which you hold yourself. If you found today's video interesting or helpful, please do press the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you next time.